Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. So today Amy and I are sitting down to chat about preconception nutrition tips. So this will be the first video of a series of 3 or so videos where we're talking all about preconception health. So we're going to touch on supplements as well as lifestyle and any other stuff we come up with that's really relevant to getting healthy to have a baby.
So in this one we're going to be honing in on nutrition, so different foods that we should be eating, maybe a few foods that you'd be best to avoid during this period of time,
and really drilling down on those key nutrients that you're looking for to get from your foods. Before we get started, I should mention that at the time of filming this video I am 25 weeks pregnant.
You should get up and do a twirl. I don't know, the camera's probably going to go in and out of focus, I'm not even sure.
I'm not sure if you can see that. But yeah, so I'm currently 25 weeks and a lot of the tips, or pretty much all the tips that we're sharing in this video, were things that I personally did to get pregnant or to prepare for pregnancy. And you never know where it comes from, whether it's partly luck and other things at play or genetics. But I can say that my husband and I had no trouble at all falling pregnant very quickly, and I've had a very easy pregnancy thus far with no morning sickness and not really much has happened that's
I've just grown about.
I haven't even had any reflux. I haven't had any reflux at all yet, but maybe that's because I'm tall, I don't know. But anyway, so I really feel like preparing has put me in a good position, so I wanted to share all this information while it's still fresh and it's on my mind obviously, and Amy can't help it.
You'll just wait a few months and you're just forget about that.
So in this video we're talking all about nutrition specifically, as we mentioned, but if you're looking to conceive, we would recommend actually starting all of these tips 6 months before you start trying, or at a minimum 3 months before you start trying, because it actually takes, give or take, 100 days to form a healthy egg and sperm. So all the things that you're doing today are going to affect the egg that you release in 3 cycles time.
Yeah.
So it really pays to prepare ahead of time, because you want to have the absolute healthiest egg and the healthiest sperm to make a healthy baby.
Yeah.
And we should mention that these tips are not solely for women. We expect that it will be mostly women watching this video, but there are definitely things here that you can incorporate for your man or get him to watch this video.
It takes 2 to tango.
Absolutely.
So it's not just about the egg, it's 50% is going to be his sperm. So you better be
forcing him to
eat
men think that they're kind of off the hook, their part is easy, but they are
I think
providing
because you carry the baby, they just kind of think their role is minor, but at the end of the day, they're 50% of the equation. So.
Yeah, and they really affect the health of the baby throughout their whole life based on the quality of their 50% genetic material. So if you have guys watching, or if you're thinking about your husband as well, or boyfriend, partner, then these will be relevant for him too. So the very first tip, which is actually not nutrition based, but I thought we should mention it, and it doesn't relate to guys actually, is to track your cycle. So in the 6 month or 3 month period leading up to actually starting to try to conceive, when you're changing up your diet, it also makes sense to start tracking your cycle if you're not already. So this is just going to really make the process of trying a lot easier, because you'll be clued in on when you're ovulating, and you'll be more tuned in with your body and sort of the symptoms that you experience throughout the month. But it's also going to help you to get a steer on where your fertility and hormone health is at. So if you start tracking now 6 months out and you notice that your cycles are really wonky, or perhaps the second half of the cycle is very short, things like that you can sort of identify now and start working on. Or you might actually notice that your cycle is really on point, and that's a really good sign that you can feel good about and just hone in more on those symptoms to get more in tune with your body. But that's a really important step that just helps going into the whole trying to conceive process, already being clued in on your fertility. So there are a couple of apps that you can download for free. There is one called Clue, which is pretty good. There's also one called Flow. I haven't used that one, but Amy says it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
And there's also one called Ovia, which is personally my favorite, because if you're looking to conceive, at the end of all this, it actually upgrades into a pregnancy app. So it's very specific to trying to conceive. You can log all of the different symptoms throughout the month that you experience with your ovulation and things. And it also gives you a fertility score for like each day of the month. So when you actually get to the point where you're ready to start trying, it's quite a handy tool.
So our second tip, and this one relates a little bit more to our food, is making sure that you are getting these key nutrients. So when it comes to pregnancy, there are a few different nutrients that we know are associated with better outcomes, with better sperm or egg quality. So really bumping these up in your diet is going to help you out a lot during this stage. And the first one that we're going to talk about, you might have already guessed, is folate. So we know that folate is associated with a decreased number of neural tube defects. So it's super, super important, and it's actually one that you should be doing
right before you even conceive.
Yeah,
because your body needs extra folate from the second that you conceive. And this is why a lot of doctors or ads on TV and things, you'll notice they ask women or they recommend to women to start a prenatal with folate before they even start trying or before they conceive, because if you realise that you're pregnant 6 weeks in, it's kind of a little bit too late. Well, it's not too late, but it would have been ideal to start on folate or they call it folic acid earlier.
And we'll actually be discussing more about folate versus folic acid in an upcoming video that we're planning to do about supplements, or Beck's planning to do about supplements. So basically folate is the form of B9 that you get in food. So our green leafy vegetables is one really good source. We also have avocados and liver. I mean, liver has everything basically that we need.
Yeah, it's interesting when I was preparing for pregnancy that a lot of times the recommendation was about green leafy vegetables, when if you looked into the data, the highest source would be liver or animal protein. So it's not just about the green leafies. If you also enjoy liver, that would be a great thing to eat to prepare for pregnancy. So the second nutrient that's really important in preparing for pregnancy is iron. So during pregnancy, our blood volume actually increases by, I think, as much as 50%. So that is really, really huge. And so a lot of pregnant women experience symptoms of bleeding gums and nosebleeds because there's just so much extra blood going around. And I've definitely noticed that my teeth, when I brush my teeth, it's more like I usually don't get bleeding gums, but I do get that a little bit now. So it just goes to show that your body is producing so much extra blood, and to make extra blood your body needs good stores of iron. And a lot of women do become anemic during pregnancy, and it's one of those things that is pretty heavily monitored by obstetricians and midwives because it can affect the baby if our iron levels are too low.
So going into your pregnancy, you really want to make sure that you have good stores of iron. Actually, even in between pregnancies, because you can become quite depleted throughout the pregnancy, so you want to make sure that you're really topping it up by eating those foods that are iron rich. So the most easily absorbed iron is our heme iron, and that comes from red meats. So our favorite would be like beef,
lamb, liver. You can also get it from white meats, so things like chicken, but it isn't as high. And a little trick to really boost the absorption of iron is to consume it with vitamin C, so that really helps your body to uptake iron in a higher amount. You can also opt for non-heme versions of iron, so iron coming from plant food, so dark leafy greens are really good, in particular spinach.
But it's just good to keep in mind that they're not as easily absorbed.
Yeah, I see a lot of women looking to just get their iron from spinach and kale and things, and you're kind of up against it when you really just want to get those iron stores up and like really healthy. You're better off going with a bit of red meat. So another mineral that's really helpful for pregnancy is calcium. So calcium is really important obviously once you're creating bones and all sorts of things in your second and third trimester, but it's also really important before you even conceive. And that's because calcium helps with maturing our eggs as women, and it also can protect us against preeclampsia once the pregnancy has started.
So you guys know that we follow a paleo template of eating, so if you're going to steer away from your dairy options, the best sources of calcium are going to be your bony fish. So eating things like salmon, tinned salmon with the bones in.
Sardines.
Yeah, sardines is another good one if you can hack it. If you are struggling with the sardines, you can actually watch our video about our sardine fish cakes.
They're really
I know
good.
that you were eating a lot of those.
I was eating a lot of those before falling pregnant. But you can also get calcium from eating lots of dark leafy greens and vegetables like broccoli. And of course, if you do tolerate dairy, opting for a really good high quality sources of dairy that are, say, organic and non-homogenized would be great, and also our fermented dairy. So those are just some options for making sure you've got good calcium levels.
Yeah, and you actually have started reincorporating dairy.
Yes, so since I fell pregnant, I have been doing some high quality dairy, and that is purely because during the first trimester, honestly, like, I could not look at myself and say that I was eating sardines or bone-in fish.
Well, it doesn't help
frequently, like
when you are like not attracted to eating them.
Yeah, like in the first trimester, it's pretty common to be a bit of a picky eater, and smelly fish just was not doing it for me. So yeah, that's not to say you couldn't do it, but I just knew that I needed extra boost.
So the next nutrient that we recommend to pretty much everyone, regardless of if you're looking to get pregnant or not, is magnesium. So we've talked about magnesium in so many videos. We love taking it orally, but we've also got things like our magnesium sprays and our oils. But basically, magnesium is something that's quite deficient in our soils and we're not getting enough of generally. And a lot of people have actually noted that they have less symptoms of morning sickness when they're taking magnesium. So that's just something interesting to keep in mind.
And I mean, I had read that, so I was very vigilant with taking magnesium before I fell pregnant. And I've got to say, I didn't have any morning sickness at all. So maybe it was somewhat to do with the magnesium, or maybe it was genetics and other things at play. But you know, anything you can do to try and avoid morning sickness, because I cannot imagine being sick for like 12 plus weeks. Some women have a sickness like the entire 9 months, and I hate being nauseous, so can only do good.
So the main food sources of magnesium is again our dark green leafy vegetables. Are you guys seeing a pattern here?
Yeah, and avocados are really good as well. I think you can get a bit of magnesium from like bananas and things like that. So it's all coming from your fruit and veggie. But you can also supplement, because it is quite difficult to meet requirements just from food, given that our soils are depleted. So definitely think about doing like an oral powder or a tablet, or you could do, like Amy said, the oils and sprays and things. The next one we wanted to chat about was zinc. So zinc is actually super important for the guys out there as well. It's great for women and men preparing and improving their fertility, but it's super important for sperm health. And in particular, it's involved in pretty much every or most steps of the production of sperm. So we know that for guys, you want to have plenty of swimmers, you want them to like swim strong and everything. So zinc is a really big part of that. Some really good sources are, again, your dark or red meat, so beef and lamb, and also of course liver are really excellent sources, as well as like shellfish, in particular oysters.
Also, for a plant-based source would be like your pepitas, your pumpkin seeds. Doing like a handful of those can help to boost up your zinc as well. Yeah. So the next one that we have is iodine and selenium, and we're kind of grouping those two together here today because they're both really important for our thyroid health. And basically we want to make sure that your thyroid is on point when you're looking to be carrying a baby for 9 months. So definitely increasing your iodine and selenium in your diet. So looking at things like your seaweed for iodine, and then
other seafood as well.
Yeah, seafood.
And then Brazil nuts.
And then Brazil nuts are like your selenium vitamin. So
you only need like a couple as well. They're like a vitamin pill nut.
Yeah. So they're good ones just to like have on hand, generally just like take 2 a day and you've like met your requirements.
Yeah, and really looking after your thyroid is going to help with baby's brain development in particular. And we should note that if you do have any specific thyroid conditions, that it's worthwhile seeking specific advice for that, because in some cases supplementing or taking iodine-rich foods is not the right approach if you do have like an underlying thyroid condition. So that's really important to look at as well.
So now we're moving on to a few antioxidants. So we're going to start with vitamins A, C and E. So basically our antioxidants are going to protect the egg and our sperm from oxidative damage. So that's just really important for making sure that you are producing a really high quality egg and sperm.
And a high quality baby.
Yeah.
Right. It sounds weird calling baby high quality. It's like low quality baby versus
you're a low quality baby.
You guys know what we mean. And the one special point on vitamin A, C and E is that vitamin A is actually really important for helping to prevent cleft palate. So focusing on vitamin A rich foods. Obviously a lot of people talk about beta carotene rich foods, but it also pays to look at preformed vitamin A, so more like your animal sources typically of vitamin A. which are way more bioavailable. And we'll talk about it in our supplements video as well, but cod liver oil is a really good one for vitamin A supplementation as well as liver. Obviously, like cod liver oil is like a derivative of the cod's liver. But if you're also eating things like chicken liver and beef liver, that's really, really good for those healthy vitamin A levels.
I guess the only thing to keep in mind with vitamin A is that you don't want to be having too much of it because that is toxic as well, but we'll talk about that more in our supplement video.
I think it's pretty difficult to like OD just using foods. But when you get into the pregnancy, it'll be a little bit more something to be conscious about. But yeah, we'll talk about that in the supplements video.
And we also have coenzyme Q10. So CoQ10 is another antioxidant. So again, it's going to help with that sperm and egg quality, but then it's also got an additional benefit for the sperm. So it actually helps to improve sperm motility, basically making sure that they swim really well.
Yeah. So if you're thinking about things to incorporate into your man's diet, or if you're a guy watching this video, the two really important ones that stand out are zinc and CoQ10. So it's going to help, you know, produce a lot of healthy sperm and also make sure that they
do their thing.
Because in a lot of cases of infertility with men, it comes down to really poor motility and, you know, not high numbers of quality swimmers. So these are two things you can incorporate.
So the last nutrient that we have on our list is our essential fatty acids. So our EPA and our DHA, which we can get from our cold water fatty fish. So our favorites being our salmon. You can also do sardines. There are two favorites. And our essential fatty acids are extremely important because they help with the cell membranes, so developing a healthy lipid bilayer on all of those cells. And another part to this is making sure that you are avoiding your trans fats and your hydrogenated oils, all of those bad oils
that are gonna like have the opposite effect.
Yeah,
right?
so they're gonna like weaken that cell membrane.
And the other thing is, once you fall pregnant, having that really good omega-3 EPA DHA is going to help with baby's brain. So this is something you can start pre-pregnancy and really focus on throughout the pregnancy as well. Having said all that about all of the key minerals and nutrients and essential fatty acids, our next point is really about making sure that you get these nutrients from high quality unprocessed foods, and preferably going organic as much as possible as well.
So basically, by avoiding those pesticides, you're going to be avoiding those things that will compromise the quality of that egg and sperm.
Yeah, and so it really comes down to as well, like, I know it can sort of boggle the mind, so many things that you need to be eating, but it comes down to eating the rainbow. In other words, yeah, as corny as it sounds, it's like making sure that you're eating a variety of foods of different colors, different textures, all kinds of different vegetables, because they all have different nutrients to offer. And of course, we can also get a lot of these nutrients, minerals, etc. from supplements, which we're going to talk about in another video. And of course, we believe in getting all of these things from food first, but some of them it just pays to like give it that boost. Things like magnesium, that are a bit difficult to get from food, and you want to make sure it's really topped up before you get pregnant. So that's another video.
So our fourth tip is to avoid your processed foods. So you guys know that we follow a paleo-based diet, and that basically means that we cut out all of our nasty processed foods. So our biscuits, crackers,
Cakes,
breads,
all the things that come in a packet.
Yeah.
When you're looking to improve your fertility, it's really about eating as natural and as clean as possible. So we want to remove all the things that are full of additives, that are milled up into flours and glued together, things that have been sitting on the shelf and
that are kind of
preservatives.
Like, yeah, and they're pretty like nutrient devoid as well, or they're just fortified with stuff. So they're not a good source of nutrition, and they're pretty much just displacing other things that would be better for you.
Of course, it's also really important to be avoiding sugar as well, and honestly, all the bad sugars are going to be in the processed foods too. So if you just stick to whole foods, fruits, vegetables, healthy meats and animal products, you're going to be good. So our fifth tip that relates to nutrition is actually all about water. So another thing that you can do is start drinking filtered water. And what we mean by that is not filtered water in a plastic bottle.
No.
We definitely want to avoid our plastics because that can really disrupt our hormones as women and as men. But we're talking about getting a nice water filter at home so that you can drink clean, high quality water. because we know that, especially in Australia and a lot of Western countries, we have fluoride in the water, which can actually displace or like compete with selenium. So basically our selenium levels can take a bit of a hit, but there can also be other things in the water like heavy metals,
glyphosate, different runoffs.
Yeah, so pesticide runoffs and things like that. So we drink a lot of water during the day, and so it really pays to just make sure that we're having the best quality water that we can.
So our sixth and final tip is to incorporate your gut healing foods. So we have so many videos on this channel that are all dedicated to gut health, so you can go back and watch all of those. Basically, when you're pregnant, you're going to be transferring your microbiome to your baby. So you want to make sure that you're really feeding your microbiome well and making sure that there's no dysbiosis going on.
I mean, we've kind of left this tip till last. It's just how it happened. It's definitely not like the least relevant. It's something that's really important for women in particular to work on when they're thinking about becoming pregnant, because we know our microbiome is responsible for so much of our health, and so we want to give our children the very best start, a healthy immune system, healthy gut. So really incorporating gut healing foods into your diet, so things like fermented foods, things like sauerkraut, kimchi, kefir, all really positive, as well as bone broths, which we're a really big fan of, so addressing any things like leaky gut that you might have. And of course there are some supplements which we will talk about in the supplements video that relate to gut health, but yeah, getting your gut health sorted out before pregnancy is super important, and it's going to help with your hormones and like ease of becoming pregnant.
And I think it's really important here that we jump in and mention that we do have an online course that is dedicated to gut health, so that is our Get Glowing online course. So if you want to check that out, you can head to the link that we'll leave in the down bar below.
So we're going to reopen that course shortly, and if you sign up to be on the wait list for that course, you will get updates about when we're reopening for our next intake. And yeah, we're obviously gut health enthusiasts, but that's because it's so important at any time of life, but specifically as well when you're looking to start a new life, bring a new life into the world.
Alright, so that wraps up all of our tips for this video. We have a few more planned to be coming up. So we've got the supplements one, and I think we're also going to do like a lifestyle based one, because there's a lot more in addition to just food that's worth thinking about when you're thinking about getting pregnant. The last thing that we did want to mention before we go is that if you are looking at increasing your intake of any of these nutrients, it can be really handy to make an account and download Cronometer. So Cronometer basically is a place where you can track all of your food, and it will track each of those different nutrients. So maybe even a good idea to just go through this video and write down all the nutrients that we mentioned, and just make sure that you're hitting your targets with each of those.
Yeah, it's a really handy tool, and it feels good to like hit your targets for the day. Like, ooh. So we'll leave a link for that below so that you can download the Cronometer, and you can just do it even for a week, and it will give you an idea if you have any sort of gaps or blind spots in your diet that you need to sort of plug in, and that's a really handy tool. So I think those are all of our tips for this video. If you enjoyed this video and you want to learn more about preconception health, then please leave this a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos from us in the future, then definitely also hit subscribe. And if you are currently looking to improve your fertility, and if you're trying to conceive or you're going to be trying soon, definitely leave us a comment below. Or if you're pregnant as well, just anything to do with this whole world, if you are along for the journey, then leave us a comment and let us know how you're going. And other than that, we will see you in our next video. Bye guys. Bye.